G'day, and welcome to the next pack. Oh my god, it is the Dead Marshes. So I'm pretty keen to see what's going to be happening with this one. It's so hard for me, because I'm a bit of a nethead, to avoid seeing all the cards. But I've only seen the official spoilers. But I know I said I wouldn't do another one until I got, sort of two, I guess. Two in a row, but I decided to fill some holes in my Call of Cthulhu collection, and of course the new Call of Cthulhu one. So that was enough for me to think it was worth getting. So let's open this bad boy and see what is inside. Oh, it's so hard to do with this. Okay, well, there's no point in looking at the attached Final Fantasy paper because, of course, it'll have nothing on it. Just a couple of rules and an ad for the set that we've already bought. Oh, it's so hard to reach around the camera. I need to do it that other way I did. Oh well, we'll just have a look at it anyway. Yes, nothing. Difficult level 5. It's got this new rule called the escape test. It's quite interesting. Let's have a quick look at that, actually. While playing this scenario, players at times are instructed to make an escape test. This test represents Golem's attempts to escape their pursuit. To make an escape test, a player must commit characters to the test. A character must exhaust to commit to an escape test. Each committed character counts as one will strength for the test. After committing characters to the test, the players may take actions to or play events. If a single player is required to make an escape test, only that player may commit characters he controls to the test. If the party is required to make an escape test, all players may. Once the characters are committed, a number of cards, as instructed by the card text depicting the escape test, What? Once characters committed, a number of cards, as instructed by the card's text depicting the escape tests, are if. What the fuck? What the hell does are if mean? Oh, wait, hang on. But dang, there's more. That makes a lot more sense. A dealt from the encounter deck. Many of the cards in this encounter deck have a bold escape value. Any cards that do not have a printed escape value is considered to have a base escape value of 0. When dealing cards for an escape test, ignore all other effects on the dealt cards. Once these cards are dealt, the total committed will is compared to the total dealt escape value to determine if this escape test was a pass or fail. Interesting. If the total committed will is higher than the total dealt escape value, the escape test is passed and nothing happens. If the total committed will is equal or lower than the total dealt escape value, this failed, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Okay, so it's basically like a second questing phase. Okay, so it's actually the first time that I've actually had to really go through the rules, but, and there's the other packs. We've only got one more to go, which is going to be awesome. So it's back in Mirkwood with all the cool spiders. Right, so let's have a look at this. Number 1, first off the bat, Boromir. Ooh, baby, one of the best characters, most loved and famous. Let me turn on the light. It's a little dark. Does that make it a little easier to see? Boromir. Ooh, baby. Action. Raise your threat by 1 to ready Boromir. Action. Discard Boromir to deal 2 damage to each enemy engaged with a single player. Okay, so this is one of the ones that were revealed, and it looks very, very cool. I really like this. He's got a very, very high threat value of 11, though, which is extremely high. I'm a big fan of having low threat values. But, It's interesting. I mean, this guy can ready at any time. So, I mean, he is very, very powerful. I mean, you're only taking one threat to ready him. So he's kind of like Aragon, except you don't have to worry about having resources to trigger his abilities. Still, this second ability is kind of unusual. I'm not quite sure how this can be. Can this be broken somehow? Yeah, so at the moment I don't think you can abuse this ability. I mean, you do have Test of Will, I think it's called, where you can raise your characters from the graveyard, but using there are no actual cards that can really capitalize on this ability yet. It is a very powerful ability, but at the same time you lose your hero, which is pretty drastic. I mean, you would need to, it would have to be a pretty strange situation to actually use this ability. You'd have to, it would have to really make a vast difference to the board state, like a huge swing for that to be worth doing. Still, the raise your threat by 1, which is kind of like Aragorn's ability, is really, really powerful. Note that this guy has almost no willpower, which is kind of cool, like thematic-wise, and means he's not very good at questing, so he is just for defend, tap, attack, so interesting. I think he'll go very, very well inside a spirit deck, so like a threat reduction aggro deck. Okay, here we have Duodane Watcher. Okay, response. Discard Duodane Watcher from play to cancel the shadow effect of a card just triggered. Interesting. I have been thinking recently that I would prefer more control over the shadow cards. I mean, we've got quite a few ways of dealing with the counter deck, but not so much the shadow cards. And this, of course, does combo extremely well with my favourite hero at the moment, well, one of my favourite heroes, which is the Prince, who readies on characters leaving play. So there's quite a lot of utility in this card, and it's fairly cheap. And of course, it does have a blocking ability with 2 health, means that it can probably even take maybe a hit from a low power enemy. I think this is an interesting card. It's good, but the thing is, I'm not really sure that this is going to be a card that's really going to make it deep into my decks, because while shadow cards are obviously bad, most decks are designed in a way to cope with the random appearance of shadow cards. If your deck is unable to deal with shadow cards, then your deck's going to fail. So in a way, the decks are already designed to cope with shadow cards. This is obviously an extra way, but there's probably some more powerful cards that we could put in here and just take the shadow cards in the face, so to speak. But then again, let's have a look at the shadow cards in this deck. Maybe they've got escape attempts on them that you want to cancel. Duodane Cache. Interesting. Attached to a hero. Attached hero gains ranged. Play 1 resource from attached hero's pool to attach Duodane's Cache to another hero. Well, this is actually an excellent card. The entire Duodane cycle of cards has been very, very powerful, and they really allow you to modify the way the way you build your decks, because now we don't have to worry about using, in this case for example, archer tunes, tunes that have ranged on them, or heroes that have ranged on them. We can create a ranged tune, and that's really, really good for some of the quests that we've encountered can only be defended or attacked by a ranged character. Try and get the light to stop flashing on that card. Yeah, this is another one of these. Yeah, so the thing about the Duodane, the entire cycle of Duodane cards, is they are powerful, but at the same time, they don't increase your board presence. And board presence is actually pretty important in this game for what I've seen. And what I mean by that is that, do we want to boost our attack or defense or ranged of a single character by 1 or whatever? Or do we want to have an entire extra body, like a whole ally on the table that can take a chump block or add to our questing power or escape power in this case? So that's one of the problems with the Duodanes. I've seen decks posted on Card Game Database which have just ridiculous, like 12 of their cards are Duodane stuff. And I'm just thinking, well, this seems very easy to be destroyed. Like you lose one here, you got like no allies and you just got all these pumping things. Still, interesting card. Not too excited. Oh, smash, I just bashed my camera. Not too excited, but it does have some uses. Vassal of the Windlord. 0, 3 attack and 0 defense. Interesting. Ranged. Vassal of the Windlord cannot have restricted attachments. Forced. After an attack with Vassal of the Windlord attack resolves, discard Vassal of the Windlord from play. Okay, so this is an interesting card. He only costs 1, which is pretty insane for a 3 attack creature. I mean, he doesn't really have any defense, but he gets discarded from play regardless. And it's interesting to note that it's directly after the attack, so I'm pretty sure you won't be able to use Born Aloft. Still, I think this card is actually very, very cool. Again, I really like that Prince Imrahil, and this is yet another card that can trigger his effect. Very, very cool. I like this card a lot. Okay, so this is one of the ones that was leaked on the Fantasy Flight forums, by Fantasy Flight themselves. Song of Mocking. Now this is our first song that is actually based in a sphere. It is the Tactic Sphere. Exhaust Song of Mocking to choose another hero. Until the end of phase, attached hero takes all damage assigned to the chosen hero. Okay, so this is pretty crazy. I think this combos extremely well with Frodo, obviously, but also I think it's... I can't remember the name of it. It starts with U. It's the healing... There's a healing attachment that you tap to heal for 2. And one of the problems I've always had with that healing attachment is that often you'll have one guy who's got no... Like, the guy it's attached to is basically almost immortal in a way, unless there's a really big hit on him. Especially if you get some of those defense Duodane stuff on him, which I like to run. But the problem is, if you run those healing attachments, you're taking away slots for healing of other healing effects, which means that only one of you guys getting healed. This way, once that attachment's out, I reckon you could use this to just keep soaking up the damage into that single turn. Interesting. Okay, and one interesting thing to note is, let me just read this again. Exhaust Song of Mocking to choose another hero. Exactly, yeah. It can only take damage off other heroes, not off allies. That does make it a lot less cool, but still very, very cool. I like this. Elfhelm? Huh? Yeah, whatever. Elfhelm? I don't know. Fantasy names, who cares? 4, that's expensive. While Elfhelm is ready, he gains response. After your threat is raised as the result of a questing unsuccessfully or by an encounter or quest card effect, reduce your threat by 1. Okay. That is an interesting card. I'm not quite sure exactly how I will be using this card, but that is an interesting card. So basically, if you get these guys on the table, it just lowers what you need to do with your threat. Now he's only questing for 1, so he's only adding 1 quest to the quest pool, and then he does have attack and defense, which is pretty high. So you'll be leaving this guy as an attacker and defensor, and he's just basically taking 1 threat off any threat gain that you get during the questing phase. I think that's a very, very cool character. I really would need to have a play with the deck editor and see what kind of things I could cook up with this, because this is a really different type of card for Spirit, I think. I mean, obviously it's threat reduction. Spirit is threat reduction. But really, we haven't seen a lot out of Spirit that hasn't been geared towards questing. This is the first kind of card that's going to allow us to pull back. We don't need to focus so much in questing. I see so many decks that have run Erwin in every single deck. I mean, Erwin's a good character, +4 willpower, whatever the hell it is. But at the same time, when you can quest for like 18 willpower in a single turn without any worries, why do you need Erwin? Like she's becoming more and more less relevant, to the actual gameplay, because there's so many other questing options. And this is yet another card from Spirit which is toning down that angle, meaning, let's not worry so much about questing. Let's really get into like another area for Spirit, and I really like that. I think that's quite an interesting card. I'll have to have a play with it and see exactly how it could be used. Okay, what's this one? We Do Not Sleep. Until the end of the phase, Rohan characters did not exhaust to commit to quests. Well, that's pretty intensely awesome, but it is a 5-drop, so I'm not really sure how useful this is going to be in early game. In end game, very, very playable, especially once you've got more characters. I have not really played a lot of Rohan-orientated decks. I mean, I know I got Imrahil, but I guess they are Rohan-orientated decks, but still, this card doesn't really thrill me. I'm not a big fan of the big high-cost 5-mana things. Like, I mean, I do use them. I use them quite a lot, actually, the 5-mana spells. But I usually use them for single times, you know, like it's used to bring my hero back from the dead, or it's used to place down an incredibly utility-type character like Gandalf or whatever. This card seems to me that, I mean, its effect is only for one turn. It is a blowout for that turn, much like that one that readies all characters. I don't know, not too impressed with that one. Civilian Tracker. Response. After a Civilian Tracker readies during the refresh phase, heal 1 damage from that character. I read that wrong. Civilian Character readies. Wow. Well, that card is just awesome. Love it. I love effects that don't require mana payouts, and this doesn't even require tapping. It just, you know, making a ranger deck, like an elf deck with this guy in it, really, really powerful. And of course, the more you have, the more powerful this becomes, you know. Yeah, this is a very, very good card. So basically, every time it readies, it just heals everybody, including itself. Wow. Okay, the Fast Hitch. This is another one that we've known about pretty much forever. Attached to Hobbit, it's basically an unexpected courage just for hobbits with a cost of 1. Yeah, I mean, it's good, but like, seriously, exactly how many hobbits do we have? I mean, we've got, what have we got? We've got the 2 heroes, Bilbo and Frodo. We've got Wandering Took, or Took, or whatever. I mean, who cares about him? But there is one, I can't remember the name of it, but it does some kind of scry ability. Come on. Keen-Eyed Took. Yeah, okay, so we've got Bilbo, Frodo, Keen-Eyed Took, and Wandering Took. And that's it, isn't it? None of these have tap effects. All of them have low health. All of them have, I mean, seriously, I mean, is this really that useful? Maybe if there's a Hobbit... maybe if you've got a Hobbit... maybe if down the line they release like a Hobbit attachment that turns you into a Hobbit. I don't think that's ever going to happen. So why is this even here? Well, it's obviously here just for this new escape mechanic. You can now quest with your Hobbit and then untap him to then go into your do the escape test. And really, does he have any other use? Now, I'm not a big fan of these kind of cards that are completely geared towards a single quest. We've seen that in Radagast, and we've seen how much havoc that plays upon the deck builders, because the deck builders, what we're trying to do, one of our goals, I guess, is to make a deck for the given sets, you know? So we make a single deck, and that single deck will be able to beat the whole of Mirkwood Cycle, you know what I mean? And just use cards up to Mirkwood Cycle in that deck. And, you know, that's what a lot of deck builders are trying to do. And cards like this, while very useful, are completely useless for that, because, you know, unless they make more Hobbits, and more Hobbits may be coming. Still, have to keep an eye on this card. I mean, we've all seen how absolutely ridiculous Unexpected Courage is. So, you know, if some decent Hobbits turn up, or, you know, this could become a very good card. We'll see. And lastly, Song of Battle. About time. I actually have a deck which I've been using a Song of Battle in, even though I didn't know what it was called or when it was coming. I knew it was coming eventually. But I have been using a Leadership Splash in one of my decks, just using a stand-in, because I knew this song was coming. So, very, very cool. Comes up. You can hook it up with your minstrels. Great, great stuff. And that's it. That's it for the player cards. Okay, so what else have we got? Time for the encounter deck. Okay. Let's get these quest cards out first. Okay, so Setup. Search the encounter deck for Golem and add it to the staging area. Shuffle the encounter deck and reveal one card per player from the encounter deck and add it to the staging area. Okay, it's a very, very standard setup. And there is nothing on the next phase except 12 questing. That's humongous. And next on 2A we also have nothing. And 2B, it's only 3 to quest through, but forced. After this stage is defeated, the first player chooses a player that the player must pass an escape test. What? God damn it. After this stage is defeated, the first player chooses a player. That player must pass an escape test, dealing one card from the encounter deck for each resource token on Golem to capture him. If Golem is not captured at this time, reset the quest deck to stage 1B. If the final escape test is passed, players have captured Golem and won the game. Okay, so that's quite interesting. There's obviously going to be effects that are going to place counters upon Golem, and you're really going to want some questing power. Maybe my dissing of Eowyn was a little early, but I mean, we do have Map Maker, don't we? We do have Map Maker and Steward of Gondor, so who cares? Right, Golem. If Golem ever has 8 or more resource tokens on him, shuffle him back into the encounter deck. Forced. At the end of the quest phase, the party must make an escape test, dealing one card per player from the encounter deck. If this test is failed, place 2 resource tokens on Golem. Okay, so there's the escape test right there. Basically, you've got Golem, he's trying to get away from you. So you've basically got 2 questing phases. What is interesting about this is that it is going to, like, a lot of people have been running these sort of split decks, and they're getting more and more popular as they're getting more and more powerful. You have one questing deck and then one aggro deck. What this is kind of forcing you to do is split your questing into 2, which might mean that it might be a lot easier to run 2 questing decks, or 2 decks that have questing abilities rather than just having one that has none. The party must make us dealing at the end of the party must make it. Yeah, so the party makes this escape test, which is cool. So the same high quest power person can do this escape test without the other character. So it doesn't really affect that deck archetype yet, but it does mean that questing is split. So I think that's quite interesting, the way it's splitting up questing. Wow, straight into the treachery cards. Maybe did they pack these differently? They used to put treachery cards right at the back. Is this just an entire deck of treachery? We will find out soon enough. Oh man, next time I do this video I'm going to make sure I position the camera better, because this is so awkward reaching around the camera and nothing's in frame. Terrible, terrible. It's been so long I've forgotten how to do this. Okay, when revealed, place 2 resource tokens on Golem. Any player may exhaust a lore hero to reduce this effect to 1 resource token, escape 4. Okay, so again, not really much of a threat to my decks because I still run Eleanor. A lot of people think that Eleanor is like completely useless now that with the rule clarification on her, but still, I still run her and would basically just cancel this effect and get the next card. Still, you can reduce it. It gets a resource token by 1, so it's interesting to see if we are able to remove resource tokens from Golem. He does. Let me have a look here. If Golem has 8 or more, shuffle him back in. Okay, so Golem does get his resource tokens wiped, which is quite interesting. And I'll talk about that at the end. I just had a kind of silly idea for a way of controlling the encounter deck. I'm not sure if it's going to work, though. I'll have a think about it. What have we got here? When revealed, the first player makes an escape test, dealing 2 cards from the encounter deck. If this test is failed, place 1 resource token on Golem and raise each player's threat by 2. Escape 2. Okay, so this isn't too scary, I don't think. I mean, we are getting a resource token, and we are getting a threat increase, and the threat increase is really what's going to be worrying us, because in all honesty, I mean, who really cares if he gets lots of Golem tokens on him? I mean, he's just going to get shuffled back into the encounter deck, which will wipe them all off him. Am I reading Golem right? I can't be reading that right, because that just sounds too easy. If Golem ever has 8 or more resource tokens on him, shuffle him back into the encounter deck. Yeah, that's it. So, yeah, I mean, the real problem here is the threat game, which can be controlled. Okay, next, more treacheries. My god, this is treachery heaven, this deck, isn't it? When revealed, the first player must make an escape test counting attack power instead of willpower, dealing 2 cards for the encounter deck. If this test is failed, place 1 resource token on Golem and raise each player's threat by 1. Okay, so that's another interesting card. Again, this sort of changes things up, swaps it around. You think you know, you think you've planned ahead, you've got everything counted, and boom, we're actually counting attack power now. All your plans are stuffed. But again, you know, if you're running Eleanor, you should be able to just cancel this straight away. Still, I do like this card. I think this card's kind of cool. I do like that picture. Got a bit of a thing for horses. Okay, what have we got here? Another escape. When revealed, each player must make an escape test dealing 2 cards from the encounter deck for each test. What? Each player must make an escape test. Oh, there's 2 escape tests. Okay. Each player that fails this test places 1 resource token on Golem and raises threat by 1. Right, so this is actually a pretty nasty card. There was quite a large number of these. How many were there? 4? Yeah, there's 4 of these in the deck. So the chances of seeing this is pretty strong. Yeah, I don't know. This is just another one of those things where, like, do we really need to worry about these escape tests that much? I mean, the threat's only going up by 1. I mean, that's not really that much. Okay, we do have some new monsters, thank you. I always like monsters. Monsters are cool. Giant Marshworm. Forced. Remove 2 damage from Giant Marshworm at the end of each round. Okay, that's pretty insane. It's got a high threat at 36, so it's going to be up in the staging area for a long time. It does have a defense of 2, which means done here can hit it in the staging area, but at the same time it's going to get that 1 damage back. So unless you can boost his attack power, that's not going to be. I mean, you need to do at least 3 damage to this every round or more. So I mean, this is a very, very scary monster. You don't want to be fighting these guys. And it's the only monster in the pack, it looks like. And there's 3 of them. Not a lot else. I do really like that art though. Okay. Location. Okay, there's quite a few of these ones. When revealed, place 1 resource token on Golem for each location card in the staging area. Wow, that's pretty heavy. And it's got a victory point of 7 and it's 12 to quest past it. Whoa, and what have we got here? We've got 4 of these? 5 of these? 4 of these. That's insane. Wow, I don't like this card at all. Place 1 resource token on the Golem for each location card in the staging area. So you're going to want to leave these in the staging area, but you know, I mean, that could be 4 resource tokens. Still, it's probably the best place to leave it. Do we really ever want to travel to this place? I don't think so. That's a freaky card. And the Heart of the Marshes. While the Heart of the Marshes is the active location, all cards dealt from the encounter deck for escape tests gets +1 escape. Cards receive this bonus even if they do not have a printed escape value. Okay, so that's very cool. Now remember that anything with nothing printed on it acts as 1, did it say? Is that what it said? Anything with nothing printed on it counts as 1 or 0. Let me have a quick look. Any card that does not have a printed escape value is considered to have a base escape value of 0. Okay, so basically it makes everything have 1, you know. This doesn't scare me too much. It's only when it's the active location. It doesn't worry me too much. I think this is quite dealable. You know, we can deal with this. And lastly, this doesn't look like a very hard quest to me. Fens and Mires. After the player travel to this location, place 1 resource token on Golem, escape 2. Okay, so that's quite a not too much. It just forces a counter onto Golem to get rid of it. It's very easy to quest pass. And of course, if you're using your trackers, you should be able to get past this quite easily as well, because it's only got 2. You only need to quest 2 times. So that's the encounter deck. Now, I'm just going to have a quick think about this. Now, I could be completely wrong here. I mean, like I said, this is literally the first... Like, I haven't looked at these cards before. This is my first time. But seriously, why do we really care about Golem getting shuffled back into the deck? Don't we want that to happen? So Golem gets all these counters on him from the escape test. Who cares? You know? All we need to do is dig him back out, and then all those counters are removed. So why do we even really need to worry about escape tests, especially in the early game? And then we actually, you know, you just don't care about them at all. He shuffles back in the desk. You dig him out again in mid game, and then you might even want to purposely force him to let him escape to clear the counters yet again before going to the last quest. And then what you need to do is just, you know, dig him up again, because by then the encounter deck's going to be very, very small, which means you'll probably have a high chance of drawing again, especially if you've got someone like Denethor to scry the deck for you. I'm not sure if that tactic will work, but that is a tactic that's sort of come into my mind. I mean, why do I even care if Golem has counters on him and goes back into the encounter deck? It doesn't seem that matters to me. In fact, it seems like I want him to go into the encounter deck to clear those 8 tokens off him before the final quest. Okay, so that's it for Dead Marshes. Let's have a look at my favourite card for the player deck. Is by far this little girl, or guy, I can never tell with elves. But that ability is just extremely powerful, very, very, very cool. I mean, sure, Boromir is very, very cool as well. I mean, there he is. Boromir, I mean, obviously he's a very, very good card, but I'm not a big fan of 11 cost heroes, and I just think her ability, the fact that it triggers without the need for you to do anything, it's like Bilbo's, it just triggers every turn, that is extremely cool. So I'm going to make her my favourite player card, and my most feared encounter deck card is actually this worm. It is not one of those billions of treachery cards that we've seen, because I'm not convinced that treachery, I'm not convinced that we even care about Golem's counters. But this guy, seriously, he recovers 2 health. You've got to hit him for 3 damage every single turn. I mean, that's quite dangerous, and he's hitting for 3. I mean, he's no slouch. I think he's pretty scary. And for my favourite art, I'm choosing this one. I don't know whether it's going to come out in my crappy scans, but it's just really, really awesome looking art. It's like, you know, I've got a thing for landscapes, but it's this sort of deep green, dark. I live by the beach, and there's actually a lagoon just down the road, so I've got a real thing. I love the look of water at night. I mean, I know this is supposed to look scary, but that just looks like a freaking awesome place to go swimming at night with your girlfriend, or have like a couple of beers and a campfire next to me. But anyway, the art is awesome. Okay, so that's my Dead Marshes preview. And thanks a lot for all your comments, guys. I've really been appreciating. I really enjoy it. And don't worry, some deck construction videos are coming. I'm waiting for the entire Mirkwood cycle, and then I'm going to do a playthrough of the Mirkwood cycle using a single deck for the entire cycle. And I'm also planning to do deck constructions then, but I'm waiting for the Mirkwood cycle to finish before I do any of that. And also, just on a side note, I've been talking to some guys on Card Game Database about doing some videos for Call of Cthulhu, which would be pretty damn cool. And, the guy I've been talking to is a little more ambitious than just doing deck box set analyses like I'm doing here. So I'm not quite sure when these are going to happen, but they will happen eventually when we get time. God, I love that game. It's so awesome. Okay, well, thanks for coming or watching or whatever, and I'll see you next time.